It's time to present Scott DuPont to bring you another episode of Finance Your Movie with tips and strategies to help you get your money to tell your story. It's time!
Okay, I am very pleased to be here for this episode with a good friend I've known for many years, Ray Forchion. He is an actor, writer, producer. He started acting when he was 7 years old. I got to ask about that. Almost
Definitely.
80 acting credits. And Ray has been literally traveling around the world doing his life-changing acting seminars and workshops, and also coaching hundreds of working actors. So welcome, Ray.
Hey, good to see you, Scott. Good to see you. Yes.
So it's incredible what you've done as an actor. Today for Finance Your Movie, we're really going to talk about producing, fundraising, that type of thing. And I did want to also throw in one kind of accolade. In 1992, you were the associate producer for Last Breeze of Summer, a film that got nominated for an Academy Award.
Yes, we were nominated in 92. We actually did that in 91. And that was an AFI thesis film, actually.
Well, congratulations on that. So
yeah, thank you.
You've been around for ages. I don't mean that in a bad way. We're both above the age range of, we're not playing 40s anymore, right? Or certainly not playing 30s. I
won't tell if you don't tell.
So would you say that, because I remember we were both in Florida, you were back and forth, of course, Florida and LA, but would you say that
it's a little frozen on that? Yeah.
It's okay on our end.
Okay.
Would you say in 2000, when you were cast in that movie, American Tragedy, as the lead, O.J. Simpson, would you say that was a big pivotal point in your whole career?
Okay.
Did you hear that, Ray?
No, I didn't. Forgive me. I don't know what's going on with this Wi-Fi today.
No problem. I'm just going to ask you again. In
Sure.
2000, when you were cast in that movie, American Tragedy, as O.J. Simpson, would you say that was a pivotal point in your career, just fast tracking?
Well, I wouldn't really call it fast tracking, where literally I had been strangled day by people saying, has anyone ever told you you look like O.J. Simpson? And so when that happened, I saw that project was coming up. I chased that project, good grief, for about 6 months before it actually happened. In terms of fast tracking my career, I wouldn't say that. As a matter of fact, the whole O.J. Simpson situation, I think, hurt my career in a way. Because like with the 80 or so film credits I have, and of course there are also theater credits that I have, I had almost done 100 commercials. And I felt my commercial career change at that point.
Okay.
When all of that went down with the trial, and I know we don't want to talk about that in this, but when that went down in the trial, my commercial auditions almost completely and totally stopped. And I asked my agent at the time, hey, what's happened? Because when that went down, I had 5 spots run. And literally, she said that, with commercials, you're on screen for such a short period of time, it seems they're very resistant to having somebody who may resemble OJ. And so fortunately at that time, I was collecting residuals on some of my past stuff, as well as the films and all, but also I was involved, I was on the guild, the board of the Screen Actors Guild at that point. And that really, that at least kept me busy and kept me focused. I did some writing. As a matter of fact, shortly after I was off of the guild board, which was, I believe that was like 2001 or so, I sold a screenplay, because there was just so much time that was taken doing a lot of the board work. And I'm a person who commits totally when I'm doing something. And this is also important for all of the producers out there, that it's not really a part-time kind of thing when you're working on a project, especially when you're writing a script. There needs to be focus. And that was what, unfortunately, I had kind of an involuntary focus
Interesting.
right at that period.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I never knew that about the O.J. Simpson thing, because I it was the lead role. You carried the whole movie. I was like, wow, what an actor. I think that was actually before I had met you in
Well,
person.
actually, that movie, it was a miniseries for CBS at the time. And really, it wasn't so much me. It was really more about the attorneys. In fact, Ving Rhames played Johnny Cochran. The late Christopher Plummer played F. Lee Bailey in that. Ron Silver. Ruben Santiago played Christopher Darden in that, which is interesting because he also wrote a project that was shown on HBO called Lackawanna Blues from his one-man show, which from what I hear, he's getting ready to mount that on Broadway. I'm not sure, but that's what I hear.
Yeah. Anyway, congratulations on that. I did not realize that actually hindered your career. We've got a lot of wood to chop today in a short amount of time.
Yeah.
I want to try to stay focused, but and I will get into the SAG low budget stuff because I think that's going to be particularly interesting to our audience.
Yes.
But one of the things that you did, there's some people that as actors or writers, and I think this episode will be particularly interesting to those two groups.
Yeah.
They really, like Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, they literally turbocharged their career by writing Good Will Hunting. You did a little bit of both because your acting career, you've had your ups and downs, but I mean, the plethora of work over the years, the massive body is just so impressive. But you also, you've done some producing as well, oftentimes putting yourself in front of the camera. And I want to talk a little bit about those projects that you did. So you started out, you did a video and a short film, which is very common. And then I want to jump to Confessions of a Thug. You were a producer and acting in that, correct?
No, I didn't act in that. I was producer on that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I didn't act in that film because actually Confessions, we wound up shooting that non-union. So I couldn't really do a role in that particular film.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was interesting because,
Were you involved raising the money for that?
Somewhat. Mostly the money came into that, and it was pretty much set up for the most part when I came on board, because the gentleman who had written that film and who had been in the music industry, and was going to play the lead, had actually studied with me in an acting workshop that I did as a part of the Hollywood Black Film Festival back, I think that was like 2004 or something like that. And he contacted me saying he knew what I did producing wise, and that I've also worked with first-time directors, especially actors who direct, because when you're acting and directing, you need another set of eyes there to help you with your performance, or if you're wise, you will do that.
So do you remember if that money that financed that project, did that come from mostly music people or just friends of his, individual?
It came from some music folks. It came from some folks who were friends and supporters of his. He had done another film that was really a very big success called Black Spring Break, which was one of the first films out, I guess. That was back in the VHS days.
Yeah, no, that was a popular film.
So yes, and they had done a sequel to that. And then musically, he had begun to put together Confessions and needed that kind of assistance on that film.
Okay. I want to jump forward to Film Hustle, which you were a little bit more involved in, a documentary. And I would recommend everybody, if you can find that film.
I was in that as myself. I mean,
Yeah, and
on Film
it
Hustle.
was a story of basically two guys hustling to put together a movie and raise money and get it done, correct?
Right. It was a documentary film.
So
The
where did
basic
you get the
idea
money
of
for
that,
that? Or was that, did people pay to
yeah,
get
that was the
into the
same way.
documentary?
Not at all. That we raised the money from individual investors, make that documentary, which was actually about our selling and promoting of Confessions of a Thug, which had been picked up actually by Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers had released it on Warner Home Video through a subdivision of theirs at the time called Polychrome. So we had that deal with Warner Brothers, but our understanding, and one of the things we said about the documentary is that, that's when the work begins, to sell the film, especially for a lot of independent producers who may not have a wide theatrical, where what you're going to wind up doing is four-walling your film, which is
Yeah.
buying the theaters, renting them out for the night. So
Yeah,
what
and
we
that's a
decided to do,
whole nother topic about distribution. But getting
right,
back
right.
to the
But as it relates to Film Hustle, that movie was about our process of hustling that film, even though we had a deed.
yeah, and that was really incredible. Like I said, everyone should see Film Hustle. Any filmmaker listening should absolutely see that. But getting back to the money, that was a fairly low budget, correct? Say under 200,000. Do you remember?
Uh, Confessions?
Film Hustle.
Oh yes, Film Hustle was definitely under 200,000. Yeah.
Okay. And you and your partner,
Yeah.
you basically reach out to individuals. Were these people you knew, people in the film industry?
Yeah. Yeah. Mostly they were people that we knew. We always like to protect some of our investors, you know what I mean? But they were people who knew us, knew the previous film, and we managed to raise the money to do the documentary. And what we did was, because we were taking Confessions around, we documented our trip with it. So it was really not an expensive proposition.
Yeah. You don't need to name names. If someone's really desperate, they can probably look up the credits. But you just made a powerful statement. You said you wanted to protect your film investors. What did you mean by that?
Sure. Yeah, well, it's just that a lot of times you can't really name, or I don't like to particularly name any more than I like to really state a true budget on a film. Because as you're selling the film, a lot of times when people know, especially when you're dealing with distributors or somebody who's going to acquire your film, you don't need to always give them the actual cost of the film, because a lot of times the things you get in a film as a producer, you get a lot of things that are services, that are favors, that you work certain deals out. So the budget, you have what your official budget would be, which is what everything would cost if you had to pay for it.
Yeah.
But then, for instance, you have a film where you may be shooting in several homes. Okay. Those homes may be from investors in your film. So part of your budget.
So you don't
Does
need to
that
go
make
around.
sense?
Yeah, you don't need to go around bragging, oh, we made our movie for $62,000 cash, because really you might have the equivalent of 100,000 with trades and deals and
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
I get that. So this is a great time, since we're talking about budgets, to segue to what every SAG actor listening, even if, actually, forget if you're an actor or not, every producer, every filmmaker, aspiring filmmaker listening to this podcast right now should pay attention to this, because I want to dive in to why and how you helped shape. You were on the committee that shaped this new era a few years ago of SAG modified and ultra low budgets.
Yes. That was a blessing. Initially, the guild had I believe they had their low budget agreement. Okay, and they also had an agreement at that time called the experimental film agreement. Okay, but what we saw there was so much production happening and technology was changing that we needed to have a way to protect the SAG members who wanted to work on these films. So we came up with an idea of creating different levels that surpassed the old films that we had put together. Okay. And those new budgets were for varying levels of the cost of production. You know, it's like one of the funny things was we went around and we checked with a bunch of the different film festivals. And we found that at one year, you know, where the Guild was saying how great it was that the Guild had done, I think it was like maybe about 350 or 400 signature films. That year at Sundance, I believe they said they had like about 4,000 submissions. So the question is like if the Guild has signed about 350 or 400 films,
Not even
and
a
yet
tenth.
a film festival like that has that amount of submissions, who's acting in it?
Yeah.
Well, the bottom line is you had union members who were also acting in those things and they're unprotected. So what we wanted to do was to give levels of work where actors could be protected, producers could be protected, okay, but at a fair rate based upon the different budgets that those films were being made.
And it's not even so much as a filmmaker or producer being protected. If you're a filmmaker and you're one of, I would just say 80% today with today's technology, you can contradict me if I'm wrong, but I would estimate that probably 80 or 90% of all independent films are between 50,000 and 2 million, in that range.
Sure.
A couple hundred
Sure.
thousand. Most films are a couple
Sure.
$100,000.
Right.
I think it's not just protection. I think it's incredible value and opportunity for a filmmaker to get, in many cases, higher quality actors. I will never disparage between union and non-union who's a better actor, but I'd say overall, the pool of union actors has more skilled and talent. I would say it tends
more
that way.
experienced actors.
Yeah, for the most part.
And
but
when you
also
have to shoot, when you have to shoot quickly, you want to have actors who know how to hit their marks, know how to develop character, know how to attach their scene to the stream of the project. You know, that becomes very important. But what also becomes important is those different budget realms also allow you to perhaps bring in actors who can help with the box office of your picture.
That's the key. That's the key, is all of a sudden
Absolutely.
these lower budget filmmakers have the opportunity, and you'd be surprised what names you can bring in once you're under a SAG agreement.
Absolutely.
And that's game changing, like you said, in terms of distribution. I also think it helps you raise more money. If you get actor John Smith, who's a recognizable TV star, attached, that can help other investors get excited, say, hey, I want to back that movie with John Smith.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Of course, one of the things you have to be aware of with the different Guild agreements is that there's only so much money that you can raise because there are different budget levels. And as you move to each different budget level, your salary levels for the rank and file actors also increases. So you want to be very, very, very careful with that. But this is something I know you've covered. When you're putting together a project, you've got to know your budget. I hear so many filmmakers who say, oh yeah, I'm doing this film and it's going to be a $600,000 film. And my question is, have you done a breakdown of the film? Have you done well, no, they're basing it on the amount of money they may believe they have. But what's very important is to do that budget breakdown. Like we always have worked from that so that you know what things are going to cost. Then if things go up, that's gravy. But you have to know how much money you need to physically complete your film. And that's not just to shoot it and get it in the can. You also have to figure your editing money,
Post-production,
for the time for
marketing.
post-production. Absolutely. Well, marketing, yes, but marketing, I believe there's different levels of marketing that need to be in your budget. If you're going to try to market your film and four-wall it around the country, that's one thing. But many of these filmmakers do projects where they don't have a distribution deal at all. So the marketing money they need to really think about is what happens if your film gets accepted to Sundance and you don't have the money to even make the trip to Park City. You have, those are the kinds of things marketing wise you definitely, in my opinion, you need to have. You know, an interesting thing happened with us with Confessions is that we were working on a deal with a distribution company based here in Los Angeles. And we got accepted to another festival called the Urban World Film Festival, which was sponsored by Vibe magazine. It happened in New York. And literally, we were at the point where we were about to sign the paperwork on the deal here, and we got accepted. And the question that I had was, well, now wait a minute. If we sign a deal here and we get a distribution here, what's the purpose of going? Really, other than a vacation, getting seen by another film festival, but we already have a deal. We decided to pass on the deal here because it wasn't a great money deal anyway. And we wound up going to the Urban World Festival. And we wound up, that's where Warner's found us.
Oh, wow.
And we wound up setting a deal. As a matter of fact, they weren't even at the festival that year. They had seen some of our press, which goes into your marketing, getting a good PR person to promote even the week that we were there in New York. Okay. And they said, listen, as soon as you're back here, we would like you to come and meet with us. And literally, I got off the plane and took the film to their offices.
Awesome. Awesome.
And
Hey, Ray,
we've got a deal. Yeah.
I want to take a quick break.
Can
Can I hold you over a quick break here? Come right back.
Absolutely.